Well, hello again, and yeah, welcome to a very quiet Hillsborough. Yeah, it wasn't like this an hour or so ago, was it, when the home fans were rightly enjoying and rightly celebrating what I thought was a deserved 2-1 win over Newcastle. Listen, certainly not on the balance of chances. Newcastle had 21 shots, I think it was, and 75% possession, but I nonetheless thought that Newcastle didn't deserve to win. The manner in which the application, the finishing of those chances, it was poor, and there were poor performances all over the pitch, really. So to that end, I thought that a team who are 43 places beneath them in the pyramid, I thought it was a deserved win for the home team. Before we go any further, in the link in the description beneath this video, you'll find the link to my Mail on Sunday match report, and within that, I make the point that while I think in the immediacy of the match, there will be disappointment. We just spoke to Eddie Howe on the touchline there 10-15 minutes ago, and he spoke of that bit of disappointment, that his will to want to win the game, and that was evidenced by the substitutions he made. I think nonetheless, in the wider context of the season for Newcastle, and I said this in my pre-match video yesterday, I don't think defeat is the worst thing for them. And the reason I say that is, I think it's evidence, and it's backed up by what happened during the game here, by the fact that it exposes that Newcastle aren't equipped to compete on three fronts, that the squad does run very deep, very quickly, once you scratch beneath what are probably 13, 14 players who you probably class as first team starters. And yeah, I use that word to de-expose that. So if from a Newcastle perspective you are trying to extract positives, one is that it perhaps does send a message to the club's hierarchy that reinforcements are needed if this club is to go where they want it to go. And I mean that in the immediacy of this season. I don't mean long term. I think we all know long term there's going to be signings coming in, but I think it heightens the need in terms of what could be done in January to maintain Newcastle's push for a top four place, and on the League Cup front as well. Bearing in mind they'll have potentially, if they win on Tuesday night against Leicester, a two-legged semi-final to come as well. And also, it's sad that you say this, but it also removes the prospect of a replay in the third round, and then if they went on and won that more matches, when I do think, my own personal opinion is that the squad isn't equipped to compete on three fronts. And I think that is something Eddie Howe probably agrees with, especially given the injuries which are mounting now a little bit. Now, what should we talk about after this game? Well, a lot of it's centred on what happened beforehand. And I was driving down here and began to get wind that Saint-Maximin wasn't in the squad. Had that confirmed a couple of hours before kick-off. We then went down to see the team get off the bus. I'll run some video over now of the team arriving at Hillsborough. Value-added content, all that. It was confirmed then that Saint-Maximin wasn't here, and we were told that it is illness, that St Max would have played, but he felt ill after yesterday's training session back on Tyneside. Now, I know there's a lot of rumours and different things which are going around as to the reason for his absence. Now, I'm told there has been no fallout. I'm told there's been no one incident where there's been a fallout, but some of the feeling you did get around it didn't feel necessarily easy in terms of the reasons given for his absence, and that is up to us as journalists over the course of the next 12, 24, 36 hours to dig into that and try and get to the bottom of it. But certainly on the surface, and this is what Eddie's just said to us, the reason being presented is that Saint-Maximin felt ill after training and declared himself, I think, not fit enough to play. So read into that what you will, and we will dig into that as much as we can. So the other little bit of surprise news before the game, of course, was that Alexander Isak was starting, and while on the face of it, I was sort of quite taken aback by that, given how cautious Eddie has been with regards to his fitness in recent weeks. I do see the need for it to get him up to speed as quickly as possible. And listen, if his body's going to this might find a little facetious, but if his body's going to break down, it's going to break down. You know, they need to test him. They need to put him in there. You know, you can't sort of dance around this for too long. The need is there for him now to get Isak up to speed. And I say that because Callum Wilson clearly doubts remain around his fitness. That will always be the case. And very real doubts there are around the form of Chris Wood. You know, for as good as he was down at Leicester on Boxing Day, in the last couple he's been poor, and he came on here today for Newcastle, and you know, in that goal behind us there, missed a glorious chance to force a replay there later on, and I think his confidence will perhaps suffer for that, and that's a shame, you know, because of that game down at Leicester, the first game back in the Premier League, he played very well, and since then he's just reverted back to the player who does look like he wants for belief on occasions in a Newcastle shirt. So yeah, that 45 minutes Isak had there will do him the world of good. And you know, how did he do? Well, he looked like a player who hadn't played for 3 months. You know, he probably could have had a hat-trick, but to his credit, he put himself in positions to score, and the fact that he missed 2 or 3 chances, well, you know, I always say a striker who misses chances, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, and he certainly put himself in there, and I would perhaps now probably expect him to start again on Tuesday night against Leicester if Callum Wilson doesn't come back in. So we'll have to wait and see that. I think it will be one of Wilson or Isak who starts on Tuesday night. So other performances, well yeah, it all come back to the finishing, didn't it? You know, Newcastle had a lot of the ball. They created a lot of chances, but that execution was poor. It was awful, really. And you know, Elliot Anderson looked rusty. Didn't look like the player we think he can probably be. Jacob Murphy, for someone who should have minutes in his legs, bearing in mind he has been coming on, you know, didn't really take his chance. Jamal Lewis looked rusty, you know. Josh Windass got across Jamal Lascelles for a goal. So, you know, I don't want to pick on these players, but you go through the team and you're highlighting performances and mistakes that we haven't really seen with that settled starting 11 in recent weeks during what is it, a 15-16 match unbeaten run. So yeah, you can see why, and you can understand why Newcastle United did come unstuck here given the changes. But while it does feel, you know, tremendously disappointing for Newcastle and for supporters, I understand that. I don't think in the wider context of the season it is the worst thing, and I realise some of you, again, I said this yesterday, might be shouting back at the screen and disagreeing with that, but that is my own take. And I think when we come to reflect at the end of the season, you know, we may agree on that, just as we did looking back at that defeat to Watford 12 months ago. But you know, a word on Sheffield Wednesday as well. Well, in the first half, I thought they weren't great. They really got their act together in the second half, and what a brilliant place this is, you know, to enjoy football. A really noisy crowd, and they thoroughly sort of revelled in that come the end. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. I've got Miles Starforth over my shoulder there. You've no doubt seen pacing back and forwards. He's my lift home, so I best go. But you know, thanks again for watching. Again, click on the link in the description below, and I'll be back on Tuesday with my thoughts following the Carabao Cup quarter-final at home to Leicester. Okay, bye bye.